Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I just start by saying a huge thank you to Mindy. We are indebted to you for being prepared to share such personal experiences here tonight. I think that when I heard that, I think I can speak for everybody who works for the Fed to say just how privileged we feel to be able to do the job that we do. And thank you so much. A big thanks also to Michael for coming to help convey from your first-hand knowledge what life is like for so many who rely on the Fed's support. Mindy illustrated just how much the Fed has been her safety net. And that's exactly what we are. We are this community, our Manchester community's safety net. Last year, our community services team, our community advice and support team, our Fed social workers and our volunteer services team together helped almost 1,600 Jewish homes across Greater Manchester and over 6,500 people. That is 1 in 7 Jewish homes in our region, and that has jumped from the 1 in 8 over the last 12 months since we made Not Alone, the poem and the film that you saw earlier. 1 in 7 Jewish homes, let that sink in. And it's not just in the areas that you might think. As the community's main social care charity, the Fed has the largest geographical scope, from Rawtenstall to Warrington, Moston to Marple, and everywhere in between. The Fed is there. But we also have the largest scope in terms of the conditions and issues that we help people deal with day in, day out. Mental illness, domestic abuse and violence, suicidal thoughts, child and adult sexual and physical abuse, depression, loneliness, carer burnout, self-harm. Every time I read this, I'm reminded of a social work colleague of ours who is teaching a 14-year-old client how to self-harm safely. We go home at night, we all do, and we put our heads on our pillow and we think, what have we done during the day? And she goes home and she thinks, I've taught this client how to cut themselves safely. Neglect, terminal cancer, the strain of parenting a child with severe disabilities, behavioural issues, or complex care needs. And such poverty that parents are having to choose between buying food or a bed for their kids. Just today, I had a request from a colleague to try and find money to buy an oven for a family of 8 that had no means of cooking food. Last year, we received over 5,600 individual requests for our help. And that's in addition to the thousands of people of every age already benefiting from our support: individuals, lone parents, couples, families, and family carers. And we're helping your neighbours, your relatives, your colleagues, people who go to your shul, whose kids go to school with yours or with your grandchildren, and who shop where you shop. They are everywhere you go, but they are hiding in plain sight. And that is why we are so thankful to Mindy and Michael for speaking today, representing everyone we can't tell you about, because often the issues they are dealing with are so personal and so sensitive. We need to smash the myth that, even as Jews, I think many of us believe in too, the fiction that all Jews are comfortable and well looked after. It's just not true. There are Jewish people living in dire circumstances who have always needed the Fed's help, but now that demand is growing. The cost of living crisis that we are hearing about more and more is starting to bite, affecting our community just as it is wider society. And we know that as people become poorer, their mental health often deteriorates, their isolation can increase, their relationships suffer, and even more will need to turn to the Fed for help. We must be here for them, and we cannot ignore their need. It's simply not an option. And all of this comes at a cost. This year alone, the Fed must raise £1.9 million to ensure we can continue to be a strong, resilient community safety net, to be here for anyone of any age who needs our life-enhancing and even for some life-saving support, and to continue to offer loving, state-of-the-art care for our elderly at our wonderful Heathlands Village. And that cost, that £1.9 million, is what we ask our Manchester community to meet. We ask you to meet that. The Fed is not a national Jewish charity operating satellite services in Manchester whilst being funded for almost 90% of their costs by a vast pool of wealthy London donors. You know, when I go to London to speak to major Jewish philanthropists or foundations, almost without exception, They tell me they only fund national Jewish charities or those operating within the M25 motorway. They are simply not interested in a Manchester-specific charity. And so the Fed does not have that luxury. We are a local charity serving our local Jewish community, and 90% of our funding comes from local donors, from people like you. Charity, in our case, really does begin at home. As life returns to normal, the Fed is reverting to holding its appeal dinners biennially, and consequently, we're asking you to make a 2-year commitment to support our services. Additionally, at the end of the month, we will launch our Without You campaign, a matched funding drive whereby every pound donated will be matched pound for pound by genuine new money. Tonight, we're asking you to increase your intended first-year pledge by 10%. This extra amount will be ring-fenced for the matched funding pot, helping to incentivize the wider community who are not here tonight or at any of our other dinners to support this campaign, knowing their donations are guaranteed to be doubled. Together, we can ensure that no one goes without. Together, we will ensure that the Fed safety net continues to be here for people at their most vulnerable, at their lowest ebb, and when they don't know where to turn. Because simply without you, we can't do it. Table hosts, will you please distribute your envelopes? Thank you.